Text. Chapter 1. Traveling through the book to become a cannon fodder female supporting role. Pingyong Hofu, a big family, a famous family. Why did Marquis Pingyong call his children to get married today? Oh, it's not that this concubine is so noble. I have to say that calling all the children here means having more children and grandchildren. It's just to let the children know their interests. Madame Ho's time is running out, and sooner or later, I will be the stepmother. Oh, even if the fifth child is old, he still wants to bring him to join the fun. This girl is usually arrogant and domineering, but now she is so well behaved, and it is really pitiful. This is the world. In the back row of the wedding banquet, she was dressed in turquoise clothes, wearing buns, fair skin, and red lips. The person who was biting her chopsticks and observing everyone at the moment was Xiao Qingyue, who had just put on her studies. Qingyue ranked third. Sitting in front of her was Jiyue, the fifth sister. Sitting next to her was Duanyue, the fourth sister who was a concubine, and Xiaohuai, the second brother who was a concubine. The eldest brother Xiao So, who was a legitimate concubine, had not returned to the Imperial College. Qingyue lowered her head and ate the chicken drumstick. This concubine was the direct daughter of the Minister of War. She had taken a fancy to the middle-aged and fat Marquis Pingyong, and she still waited eagerly for his original wife to reach bliss. It was a huge sacrifice. Although the pomp and momentum of the wedding banquet is not as good as that of marrying a wife, there are plenty of seats and banquets as expected. Qingyue was still puzzled as to why Pingyong Ho, a young lady from a high family who relied on the protection of his ancestors, wanted to see him. The second brother next to him, Xiao Huai, looked indifferent and even took a book and looked at it carefully without paying attention to anyone. When Qingyue thought that this was the villain in the novel, she took the initiative and said, "I heard that my second brother is one of the best in the academy. Isn't it time to prepare for the Imperial College exam recently?" Xiao Huai had no emotion and didn't even pause his hands. He was doing whatever he was supposed to do. The original owner kept trying to flatter Jiyu by stumbling upon Xiao Huai. If anyone here hated her the most, it was this one. After all, although she had not read a few pages of the novel before traveling through the time, the strange wind before traveling through the book flipped the pages, allowing her to see Qingyu's ending. Everyone in the Xiao mansion except Xiao Huai, who was the chief assistant, died mysteriously. Thinking of this, Qingyue glanced at Xiao Huai twice. He was still a thin young man at the moment. If he could develop some feelings, he would at least beg for a whole corpse. Qingyue flattered, "Second brother, you have to study hard and eat some walnut cake to replenish your brain. Also, this fish is the freshest, and it is not easy to gain weight." Qingyue is pretty, and with her big, watery eyes, she always looks a little more charming when she looks at people. But the original owner was usually too sarcastic, so she suddenly became cute and no one else liked her, but she tried her best. Xiao Huai's eyes moved, but he was so disturbed by her that he couldn't read anymore. "Thank you very much." Qingyue took advantage of a situation and said, "Second brother will definitely be able to get the first prize after studying more. The position of the first assistant in Dolly is waiting for you." But no, this man is the chief assistant in the novel. Even if he looks like a fool now, Qingyue must treat him respectfully. After all, saving his life is important. Probably thinking it was a mockery, Xiao Huai lowered his head, gripped the book tightly, pushed the plate to the side, and turned his head to the side to keep his eyes out of sight. Qingyue leaned over. Good guy, he didn't read any 4 books or 5 classics, he was reading The Art of War. Sure enough, smart people work much harder than this salted fish like her. Qingyue lowered her head to drink the plum wine, and soon her face became hot. It was really boring for a 9-year-old girl who couldn't even drink fruit wine. After the banquet broke up, Qingyue was helped back by Inkei, and she and Xiao Huai were on the same road. Qingyue used the strength of the wine to reach for him. Stars, stars. Xiao Huai avoided her hand and frowned. "Send Miss Third back." Inkei quickly grabbed her hand. "Miss Third, let's go back." "Go back." Qingyue looked at the sky blankly, feeling sad for a while. Maybe it's hard to go back. Xiao Huai had never seen a little girl so sentimental. Yushua looked cute with her blushing face, but she was arrogant and domineering in nature, so Xiao Huai was only briefly surprised for a moment, bypassed her and left first. Inke dragged her back to the hospital and stayed with her counting the stars until dawn before falling asleep. On the second day, it snowed heavily in Beijing. The Xiao mansion sent someone to send a message, which meant that Auntie Pan didn't go to toast the mistress. Qinghua was drinking hangover soup and listening to yesterday's embarrassing incident. She was stunned for a moment when the maid came to report and then said to Inke, "I remember that if I don't toast to the mistress, it will be unclear." Inke took a candied fruit and said, "Half of what the girl said is right. What about the other half?" Inke smiled and said, "Since when did the young lady care about the affairs of the house?" Qinghua didn't shy away from it either. "I'm 9 years old too. The new aunt in the house looks precious to me. Don't look back and offend me." Inke was pleased and continued, "The other half is that we hope that my aunt has a high status and a lot of money. If she doesn't drink this concubine wine later, she might still be able to." Qinghua understands that there are many twists and turns in the wealthy family, and Aunt Pan doesn't seem to be a good person. That's right. Qinghua suddenly remembered. "Go back and give the white jade paperweight given by your mother to your second brother." Inke took the paperweight without asking and went to deliver it. "Girl, the second young master is mainly interested in his studies and the paperweight is too expensive, so he declined." Qinghua had already expected it. "Send these books." Not long after, Inke came back, carrying a few fish in his hand. "Girl, this is the second young master's return gift." Instead of being happy, Qinghua was worried. She casually mentioned that the fish on the table was fresh, so he returned a few fish. Wouldn't that mean he would hold a grudge and remember it firmly? Inke said in admiration, "How did the young lady know that the second young master would accept it this time?" Qinghua shrugged. "He previously refused the paperweight on the grounds of his studies, and those books are helpful for his studies. To justify himself, he has no reason to refuse." Mrs. Wise. Qinghua looked at the 2 fat fish. "Let Aunt Li stew these 2 fish." In the evening, Aunt Li cooked braised and steamed 2 fishes, and Qinghua kept 1 fish and took it to Xiao Huaina herself. Inke held the food box and said strangely, "Girl, this fish is a return gift from the second young master. Why is it sent back again?" Suddenly, Qinghua took Inke and hid behind the rockery, making a silent gesture. Jiyue and Duanyue were talking by the pond not far away. "Then let's deal with the second brother's matter first. He has been selected for the imperial examination. I heard that he was admitted to the Imperial College as an exception. Wouldn't this threaten the eldest brother?" Jiyue's eyes were slightly stern. "Absolutely not. The second brother said that he wants to pass the exam and enter the Imperial Academy. Why don't we send someone to drug him so that he can't take the exam tomorrow? For the sake of face, he won't enter the Imperial Academy. What do you think?" Jiyue smiled. "Fourth sister, Mother said that she would discuss with the clan early next year to classify you as a legitimate daughter." Jiyue waved, and a nanny came over. She didn't know what she said, nodded and walked toward Xiao Huai's yard. Inke whispered, "Girl, do we still care about this matter?" Of course Qinghua wanted to hang up high, but as long as she didn't join forces with these 2 people, she would definitely be plotted, so she thought of dragging Inke to find Xiao Huai. Chapter 2. Feeling like old friends at first sight with my second brother. Xiao Huai was dancing with his sword in the yard after reading the book and saw her walking quickly and moving her hands slightly. "Second brother." Qinghua shook the food box. "The fish you sent is very fresh. Aunt Li happened to be born in a fishing village, and her fish cooking skills are amazing, so she brought it to second brother to try." Before Xiao Huai could say anything, Qinghua stepped forward and hugged him. "Brother." The little girl Yushua was cute, Xiao Huai was stunned, and was pulled away by Qinghua. Ji Xiang was surprised to see the young master being pulled by the third lady. Miss Third, the food in the kitchen is almost ready. Qinghua took out the fish and a few side dishes by herself. Second brother has been busy with studies recently, so eating fish is the best choice. Eating the side dishes will not be helpful for tomorrow's exam. Xiao Huai rubbed his hand on the sharp sword. Hey, Miss Third is here. Why didn't Ji Xiang go to the kitchen to get the food? Aunt Shen, the cook, brought a plate of vegetarian dishes. Isn't this the fish the young master just caught this afternoon? Ji Xiang quickly pulled her away. Qinghua looked at Xiao Huai. His life was really bad. Qinghua quickly brought the fish over. Brother, eat fish. This dish is too vegetarian. I won't let my body collapse during the exam tomorrow. Xiao Huai put down his sword. Thank you very much. Thanks again for being distant. Qinghua sat down and stared at him, because his thinness made him look handsome, and he looked so good like this. Xiao Huai actually didn't bother to use his chopsticks when the vegetarian dish was left out. Qinghua wasn't sure if he heard the implication, but she was pleasantly surprised to find that he didn't doubt her. Second brother, everyone says that you have been admitted to the Imperial Academy by exception. Why do you still need to take the exam? Xiao Huai was wondering why Qinghua suddenly approached him, so she answered the question cooperatively. Safe. Qinghua said, oh, these words are so Versailles. You can get in if you want to participate, and you can be admitted as an exception if you don't participate. You're simply a winner in life. When he wasn't paying attention, Inkei poured the dishes. Xiao Huai noticed his poor acting skills, but didn't say anything. The two of them seemed to get along well with each other. After Xiao Huai finished eating, he excused himself from reading, and Qinghua left knowingly. Qinghua Wing Room. Inkei came in holding a basin of warm water. I heard from the gatekeeper outside that the second young master suddenly fell ill last night and asked a doctor to see him. Qinghua is not worried. After all, this is the future chief assistant. Letting Hua take the tonic and take a look. Inkei smiled. There are no supplements in the courtyard. My wife was seriously ill, and she brought a lot of them at a time. Qinghua lamented that the concubine was too poor. Forget it, I'll buy a fish and stew it later. Inkei responded. They originally wanted to go there in person to show their sincerity, but their aunt suddenly asked them to go to the front hall to get acquainted. Inkei asked her to change into slightly more fancy clothes to make her look cuter. There were only a few slaves waiting in the front hall. Seeing that she had arrived first, they greeted her and sat down first. Qinghua saw them winking at each other, so it seemed that there was something about first come, first served. Jiyue and Duanyue arrived late, and Annie Hope seemed to have found the right time and arrived soon after. Jiyue was a little dissatisfied with Qinghua sitting in the back, but she glanced at Aunt Sue beside her and didn't dare to say anything. Aunt Pan has a dignified appearance and seems to have a knowledgeable and reasonable temperament. Her eyes are not sharp, but she looks smart. It snowed heavily yesterday, and the girls were considerate of their delicate bodies and expensive bodies, so they avoided this morning and dusk period. In fact, such red tape is really troublesome. From now on, girls don't have to come here every day. The implication is that the three of them are in trouble. Jiyue blurted out. Mom hasn't said anything yet. Should I ask my mother about these rules? Aunt Pan said gently. Mrs. Ho is unwell. Lord Marquis has told me that I will be in charge of the house from now on. Jiyue was shocked and turned pale, and was suppressed by Aunt Sue. She was obedient and said nothing more. Qinghua thought to herself that it was quite strange that this little naughty boy could be controlled by Grandma Yi. Aunt Pen glanced at Aunt Sue twice. I heard that the three girls haven't entered private schools yet, but are they learning how to read? Duan Yu was the most sociable. Hearing this, he said weakly, I know a few of you. Aunt Pan smiled and looked at Qinghua. Where is Qinghua? Qinghua originally wanted to talk less, but when someone spotted her, she said, I know a few of them. Aunt Pen nodded. Just knowing a few words is not enough. I knew a very good female gentleman before I got married. From now on, you will study with her and learn the rules. She only has a bad temper, but as long as you are attentive, You probably won't worry about this. When it comes to studying, Jiue is the biggest headache. She is young and loves to play. Now that she heard that she was going to be restrained, she immediately burst into tears. Aunt Pan's face suddenly darkened. Qingyue had a headache due to the noise, but Duanyue, a good sister, didn't try to persuade her. After a while, Jiue saw that no one was coaxing her, so she raised her head and glanced at Aunt Sue. Okay, thank you, Aunt Pan. Qingyue looked at Nanny Sue with admiration, wondering what method this person used. Aunt Pan continued. Did you know that Brother Huai was ill last night? Jiue and Duanyue lowered their heads slightly, and Qingyue also remained silent. Aunt Pan looked at Qingyue. I heard that you went to Brother Huai's place yesterday and got some fish? Qingyue nodded. I heard that my second brother won the imperial examination, so I took the book and sent it to him. When my second brother got 2 fishes, I cooked them together. Aunt Pan didn't want to help Xiao Huai, but she had to be on guard against someone poisoning someone in the house. Qingyue could dispel the suspicion as she found out, and the poisoner must be from Madame Ho's side. On the way, Inkei was uneasy. Miss, will Auntie Hope suspect the poison we administered? Qingyue nodded her head. Stupid, if she had doubts, she would have asked questions long ago, but it's just because it's not me, but Jiue, who can't move yet. For the sake of her second brother, she can't commit the crime of attacking her legitimate daughter now. Inkei suddenly realized, it's really not easy to look forward to my aunt. Qingyue saw no one and said boldly, my father is 40 years old, and Aunt Pan is only 18. She is 2 years younger than my eldest brother, and only 5 years older than my second brother. Although she has a good appearance, she is also pot-bellied now. What do you think she likes about my father? But Aunt Pan is the legitimate daughter of the Minister of War, and there are so many young and promising young masters in the capital. Qingyue, you probably don't know what the glory of the Ho Mansion is. Those young masters who have made great achievements have to work hard for several years before they can reach the rank. However, the Ho Mansion is passed down from generation to generation. This is a step up to the next level of worth. Inkei didn't understand. But this is just an external thing. Let's put it this way, Aunt Pan is definitely not a legitimate daughter, otherwise there would be no such roundabout ways. Inkei seemed to have heard the gossip. How did the girl know? Of course, Qingyue couldn't say that she had read the character introduction in the novel, so she knew that Aunt Pan was the daughter of a concubine. Her own mother died when she was 13 years old. Because her father liked her, he put her in the name of her legitimate mother. Li Xiangshu was a typical doting concubine and destroying his wife. He knew that she was trying every means to become a concubine in an attempt to fill a house, which made her very worried at the wedding banquet. I heard that it would be weird if my biological mother would agree to this marriage. Inkei nodded. No wonder the dowry is not as large as Mrs. Ho's. Mrs. Ho's natal family did not have a high official position, but a large dowry. This is the treatment of a legitimate daughter. Chapter 3 Mr. Luo has a problem. Qingyue saw Yinhua returning angrily. What's wrong with Yinhua? Yinhua said with a mournful face, I just came out of the house and met the 5th lady's maid Jingjia. I choked with her a few times and threw away the fish I bought. Qingyue saw the bruises on her face and also suffered. Inkei took her back to rest. Don't worry, Yinhua. The girl will definitely help you avenge this revenge in the future. Only then did Yinhua laugh. Inkei supported her. Where is the second young master? Qingyue chuckled. It's okay. I'll give you a day off today. Girl, I have my own way. From the beginning to the end, Qingyue didn't believe that Xiao Huai was really poisoned. It was obviously intentional, so Qingyue went directly to him. The janitors at the door were gathered in the corner playing cards. No one saw her go in, but Ji Xiang met her head-on with tea. 3rd Mississippi. Ji Xiang wondered why the 3rd Miss kept coming recently. The second young master has taken a rest, so I will convey your kindness to you. Qingyue took a step forward, and Ji Xiang followed suit. Miss 3rd, Please don't embarrass me. It was still early in the day, and I was afraid that the imperial examinations had not yet been completed. I dared not let anyone know about it for fear of delaying the young master's important event. Qingyue smiled brightly. I'll wait here. Please ask Brother Jixiang to pass the message on my behalf when my second brother wakes up. Jixiang saw that he couldn't drive him away. Since this is the case, I will always watch. Qingyue nodded and ran to the pond alone. Jixiang stood by and did not dare to neglect. He changed the tea and poured it. Miss Third, please have tea. The pond was clear, with groups of fish swimming in it. Qingyue took a closer look and asked, Are the fish I gave you yesterday raised in this pond? Jixiang was embarrassed. Yes, no one in the house gave me red carp. The young master bought the fry from the fishmonger and raised it. Qingyue sat on a small stool with a fishing rod next to her. I'm just fishing here to pass the time. Second brother, you won't mind, right? Jixiang said quickly. Be careful not to fall into the water. At sunset and dusk, Qingyue didn't catch a single fish. When she was drowsy, she saw a man in mysterious clothes, seeming to be treading water. The breeze picked up the corners of his clothes, and he looked like a handsome young man. Second brother. Qingyue stood up, a fish was hooked, and she hurriedly lowered her head and picked it up. Big fish. The little girl smiled innocently and harmlessly. Xiao Huai felt relieved inexplicably and walked over to help her take back the fishing rod. The cook remained the same enthusiastic aunt, and Qingyue asked a few questions about what flavor she wanted to eat. Xiao Huai was still taciturn, but his eyes were relaxed. How was the exam, second brother? Just when Jixiang was about to speak, Xiao Huai said lightly, Not bad. Then congratulations in advance to my second brother for being admitted to the Imperial College. Xiao Huai didn't say anything, but he left her to eat a meal of fish. Before leaving, Xiao Huai asked Jixiang to take her back. Inkei waited outside the courtyard with a lantern, and Qingyue asked Jixiang to go back. Jixiang returned to the hospital happily, and the young master sat by the pond and was thoughtful. Master, the third lady was taken back by the maid. Xiao Huai looked at the water. What did she say today? My servant said that the young master was resting and the third lady insisted on waiting here. Then she kept fishing and dozing off without saying anything else. Xiao Huai held the fishing rod in his hand and remembered that she quietly replaced the poisonous vegetables yesterday. Why did she suddenly show her kindness? Inkei approached Qingyue's wing early in the morning, holding a basin of warm water. Second miss, where do you think the second young master was admitted? Qingyue said firmly. Of course, it's the Imperial College. Inkei put down the water basin. Wrong. Big mistake. The young master didn't go to the Imperial College to take the exam at all. Ah. Qingyue was so shocked that she almost knocked over the basin. Then, yesterday Inkei helped her wash up. It is said that the young master did not have time to attend the Imperial Academy due to illness, but he had previously taken the exam at Ingtian Academy. Qingyue couldn't figure out what this guy was going to do, so what was he doing sneaking out yesterday? Ingtian Academy is quite far away. Anyway, I have been admitted by exception and don't need to take the exam. But the Marquis asked the second young master to go to Ingtian Academy. Qingyue figured it out this time. Xiao Huai actually had no intention of going to the Imperial College. In the morning, Auntie Hope sent someone to inform the female gentleman that she was in place, so Qingyue didn't go to Xiao Huai's place. The female teacher, Luo Xinran, was dressed simply and had a firm look on her eyebrows. She had a bad temper, as Aunt Pan said. Mr. Luo, these three are the little princesses. Just teach us the way you taught us. If you have any questions, just tell me. Mr. Luo said calmly. Okay. Jiayue usually had others coaxing her, but today when she saw such a majestic person, she was so frightened that she hugged Nanny Sue's thigh and wouldn't let go. Duan Yu is 8 years old and is more sensible than her. Aunt Pan, my fifth sister, is still young, so why not take it easy first? Aunt Pan smiled and said, It's better to learn as early as possible. If Xiuyue learns well, Mrs. Ho will also be happy. Xiuyue could only nod. Mr. Luo glanced at it and said, "No maids or mothers are allowed in." Xiuyue was about to cry, but she still endured it, and Duanyu held her hand and walked in. Qinghua thought, "She is a little girl after all. It is really pitiful that she can endure this." Aunt Pan lowered her head and said, "Qinghua is older than the sisters. Watch her carefully from now on, and don't let them be lazy." Qinghua, okay. The primary school is located next to the garden, with beautiful scenery and fresh air, which will not make people feel stuffy. When Qinghua was distracted, she often saw Xiao Huai passing by, and then she was shocked to realize that this was very close to Xiao Huai's residence. "Qinghua, I will punish you by copying the disciple rules 10 times. Just look at the scenery. This perverted man is misleading people." After being detained for several days, Mr. Luo finally gave them a holiday. On this day, Qinghua remembered that Xiao Huai was going to Yingtian College and asked Yinhua to buy some pens, inks, paper, and inkstones and deliver them in person. Xiao Huai seemed taller after not seeing him for a long time. Qinghua didn't dare to disturb him when he saw him dancing with his sword, so she waited aside. It was Ji Xiang who held the hot tea and shouted, "Miss Third." Xiao Huai threw the sword to Ji Xiang and took her to sit in the pavilion. "Second brother, I heard that you're going to Yingtian Academy in a few days, so I asked someone to buy some pens, inks, paper, and inkstones. Second brother, don't refuse anything that will help your studies." Ji Xiang winked and withdrew. Xiao Huai said rarely, "I saw you studying in the primary school earlier. When I get back, I will ask Ji Xiang to give you the copybook I wrote before." Qinghua was secretly surprised. "Thank you, second brother. My biggest headache right now is my writing. It's so crooked that Mr. Luo punished me a lot." Xiao Huai's eyes darkened. "What's the punishment?" Qinghua said nonchalantly, "I'm just going to punish you by copying the disciples' rules 10 times. It's a small thing, so it doesn't matter. But I'm really worried about being punished by standing still, so I can't be lazy." "She's still forced to stand?" Qinghua pouted. "No. Auntie Pan said before that Mr. Luo has a weird temper. After getting along with him for a while, he is really weird, but I have no choice but to bite the bullet and prevent her from getting wrong. Fifth sister has been punished more often than me." Xiao Huai didn't know what he thought of, and after a while he said, "There are many female gentlemen in the capital. This Mr. Luo is just a maid who was kicked out of the palace. I don't know what Annie Hope is doing." Qinghua was shocked. Can such a person be a female teacher? Xiao Huairua pointed out, "If mother knew about it, I'm afraid she wouldn't agree." Qinghua thought for a moment. "Second brother, I'll go back first and come back to you another day." Since time travel, Qinghua has been in trouble and hasn't gone to see her mistress yet. As soon as she entered the main courtyard, she smelled the aroma of medicine. Aunt Sue was playing with Xiuyue. When she saw her holding down Xiuyue, who was about to quarrel, she said politely, "Miss Third." Qinghua held the remaining supplements in her hand. "Come to visit mother." Nanny Sue turned around and said, "As long as you have your heart set on it, Miss Third is determined." There were many maids in the yard, but Nanny Sue seemed to be in charge, so she said intentionally or unintentionally, "Xiuyue has been punished a lot by Mr. Luo recently. I brought some plasters to activate blood circulation and remove blood stasis." Aunt Sue accepted it and asked, "How is Mr. Luo's teaching?" Qinghua Zhengqiu didn't know how to get to the point. "Mr. Luo's teachings are very good. The rules seem to be from the palace. Why haven't you heard that Mr. Luo came from the palace?" Aunt Sue's eyes flashed. "You can be considered a good teacher." Chapter 4: Let Go of That Beauty. Mr. Luo asked himself to leave the next day, but the news that Mr. Luo had an affair with an eunuch and was kicked out of the palace had already spread. Qinghua sighed. "Actually, it's not a big deal to have an affair with an eunuch. This is true love." After hearing this, Xiao Huai picked up the hilt of his sword and patted her head. What do you know at such a young age? Qinghua touched her head. Originally, eunuchs who are forced to be eunuchs should also have 7 emotions and 6 desires. However, if Mr. Luo can save his life like this, there must be a noble person behind him to help him. Xiao Huai's eyes were filled with frost. Where do you think she is on duty in the palace? Qinghua hadn't figured out what they were, so she asked nonsensically, "Is it the queen?" Xiao Huai tapped his fingers on the table. "She is the queen's personal maid." Qinghua was stunned now. Why would the queen protect someone who might know her secret? She is the illegitimate daughter of the Luo family. Qinghua was shocked. Isn't this the story of Huan and Huanbi? Then the queen is very tough. Xiao Huai has discovered in the past few days that Qinghua is smarter, less sarcastic, and much more likable than before. The Luo family was a famous family in the previous dynasty, but it gradually declined in this dynasty. Under this situation, the queen must have some